Welcome to Roman Go, and today we take a walk through history 200 years ago of a brand that emerged and has ever since made many a man happy and still continues to do so. Any guesses? Well, let us start with a story here. Imagine the year 1819 in Scotland. A young boy of 14 lost his father and became an orphan. Thankfully, the family owned a farm, which was sold after his father was no more. The trustees invested the proceeds, approximately £417, in a warehouse, grocery, and wine and spirits shop on High Street in Kilmarnock. The boy's name was John Walker. John was born on 25th July 1805 to a farmer on the outskirts of Kilmarnock, Scotland. Young Walker managed the grocery store as a teenager and started selling groceries, teas, and spirits. Although a teetotaler himself, John switched to dealing mainly in whiskey and started selling both blended malt whiskies and grain whiskies. They were made to order in those days and they were blended to meet specific customer requirements. He did not have a brand of his own yet, and later he began using his name much later on, selling a blended malt as Walker's Kilmarnock Whisky. The business was thriving. In 1852, a sudden flood virtually destroyed John Walker's grocery business. But Walker's son, Alexander, stepped in to help his father revive his enterprise, and the business was thriving again in just a few years. Unfortunately, in 1857, John Walker passed away, but he had lived a good and successful life. His son, Alexander Walker, took over the shop and he vowed to turn his father's modest business into a global phenomenon. And believe me, this is where the things took a turn. Alexander retained the name of his father on the brand and introduced the whiskey as we know it today after 150 years. He also introduced the square-shaped bottles in 1870. This was for functional reasons, because it would mean less broken bottles and secondly more bottles fitting in the same space. This would also create a most iconic look. With the local market saturated with distilleries and brandy being preferred drink of the classy Scots, Alexander launched his merchant venture system. He loaded up ships' captains with the good stuff and he cut them a commission when they sold it abroad. Clever. The ideology he followed? If you can't beat them, circumnavigate them and then beat them. Alexander was one of the first to say, "You know, cognac lovers, Scotch is also pretty good." Alexander spread his whiskey in England by inviting London traders to Kilmarnock and showing them around the town's curtain, carpet, and knitwears, the business centers which were located, and then he would treat them to something those men actually enjoyed: a good whiskey. Alexander's slanted label meant a bigger, distinctive look that could be recognized from a distance. He trademarked it in 1876, which might sound a pretty good standard, but the law had been only around for a couple of months at that time, and almost no one knew what a trademark was. But Alexander Walker was not taking chances. Walker set the label to precisely 24 degrees, a very smart move that would later become uniquely Johnnie Walker. By the time of his death in 1889, Alexander had taken the 60 feet of cellar his father had devoted to casks and built a company that produced over 100,000 gallons annually to be shipped all over the world. In 1908, when James Stevenson, who was not a walker himself, took over the reins of the business as the managing director, he did a rebranding of sorts. The whiskey was renamed from Walker's Kilmarnock whiskies to what we know it as Johnnie Walker. In addition, the slogan "Born 1820, Still Going Strong" was created. And he did something phenomenal which would blow the minds of the people in the spirit world. He created a logo, the Striding Man, a figure still used. It was created by illustrator Tom Brownie in honor of the founder John Walker and was given the same name. It is said that while at lunch, cartoonist Tom Brownie sketches the Striding Man on back of a menu card. The Striding Man, a drawing based on John Walker himself, would become one of the first globally established advertising icons. Johnnie Walker's Striding Man logo is perhaps as iconic as the Scotch itself. The ad featured the Striding Man in a number of charming scenarios, happily striding behind a youthful courier, winsomely interrupting a cricket match, and rather briskly catching a fish. But over the years, the cartoon changed size, shape. It reflected the state of the world. Depending on the social and political climate, this logo takes on a more sophisticated look. In the late 90s, the good old Striding Man took a turn. He returned. And today he stands tall with a sophistication and regalness. The brand ditched the colorful and the peppy walk for a Striding Man that is moody, sophisticated, full of class. It is more of a outline now that sits above the Johnnie Walker mark and is accompanied by the tagline, "Keep walking." There's a movement to this design. This man is walking, but walking to where? The dynamic nature of the design makes you think that this man is striding towards the future, towards greatness, towards success, just like the founders, John and Alexander Walker. The Walkers had a vision, a sharp, keen business acumen. They faced challenges, they faced failures with courage to give the world its finest and most iconic whiskey, the Johnnie Walker. Born 200 years ago, and yes, still going strong. So next time you pour yourself a few ml, don't forget to raise a toast to the people who made this possible and to its founder, Johnnie Walker.